Good evening, Nasia. We'll be waiting like 3 minutes until others join. Let's see whether they are joining or not. After 5 minutes, we will start, right? Uh, if you haven't received the PPT, then I will share it chat box, right? It's good, no? I will share it in the chat box. Mm. Okay, share the lesson, right, in the chat box. So I think you received from the campus. If not, you can get from this chat box, right? We will start in 2 minutes. We'll start, right? Dinusha also left. I don't know what happened. She will join if she needs, no? Let's see. However, we have to do. Ne? Right. Last week, what we have done, I will just share last week one very quickly and I will do a quick revision, right? This is the last one. Uh, you didn't give me any comment on the language, right? I think you can understand English well, right? මට මතක නෑ ගිය පාර මම සිංහලනුත් සරින් සරින් කිව්වා වගේ මට මතක නෑ. However, right? A pigment recap එකක් කරගෙන යමු. Last week we talked about just foundations of e-learning. Under that we talked historical development, learning theories, types of e-learning, current trends and future directions we talked, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right. So, under historical development, we just gone through different generations, how this distance education, not e-learning actually, distance education evolved. Because through distance education, this e-learning concept came gradually, right? So, in first generation, it was like postal service delivery with printed materials from the distant areas, from distant locations. We proceeded teaching learning process. Then in the second generation we had television and radio broadcasting systems. It is also one-way communication. Right, then third generations started computer-based training with multimedia resources. This is the time that we started internet applications. Then the fourth generation was web-based learning, mobile learning, and used interactive platforms, including social learning tools like from 1990s to present. Right? E-learning definitions went through e-learning definition. It is based on the basic thing that you have to keep in your mind based on electronic resources, right? Electronic resources. And key milestones in different times, right? We discussed, I'm not going to tell about that now. Can you hear me? It's heavily raining. If you can't hear, let me know because I can go to some other place that like inside place if it is disturbance.
Yes, madam, we can hear.
You can't hear clearly? Oh, can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear. Thank you. Right. So I'm not going to again revise all these milestones. Basically, we talked about the program logic for automatic teaching operations, then CBT computer-based training and LMS learning management system, and then MOOCs, massive open online courses, and virtual and augmented reality, we call it VR and AR, right? These are the main milestones that we have passed throughout the past to present, right? Then we use some theories in online learning. These theories actually we don't use only in e-learning, even in normal usual learning processes. Basically in education, we use these theories. Especially when it comes to e-learning, it's good to use some kind of theories that related to online, that applicable to e-learning, right? Therefore, we use some theories like constructivism by John Dewey, connectivism by George Siemens, and social learning theory of Albert Bandura, and adult learning theory, Malcolm Knowles. Because adult learning theory, because we talk about this andragogy or adult learning theory, because mostly this e-learning and distance learning was started for adults, right? Right. These are the core principles that we have to use in e-learning: student engagement, technology integration, assessment strategies, digital literacy, right? Then types of e-learning delivery modes, real-time interaction, that synchronous learning means real time. You have to lively connect with the teacher like you do right now. If someone listen to recording, it is asynchronous learning, and then hybrid blended together, right? Combination of online and face-to-face both. Actually, it is not synchronous and asynchronous blended, right? It is like physically we meet as well as online we meet. That is we call hybrid or blended learning method. These are some current trends we discussed last day: micro e-learning, gamification, artificial intelligence. These days we talked about AI very much, mobile learning, right? In future, we might use this technology, mostly virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. Even present we use, right? I explain what is Internet of Things here, and how IoT, Internet of Things, work. Challenges and consideration, access equity. It's a challenge. Ah, I think I didn't finish. I have to explain from here. If you were there, Nasra, were you there at the on last day? I think I have to start from challenges and considerations, I think.
Yes, madam.
Last two, uh, yes, no? Last two slides actually. I'm not sure. I think I haven't explained challenges and consideration. Okay. However, I will explain when it comes to e-learning challenges, right? And here I explain as implementation issues. Implementation means we implement something, right? When we like execute, when we do it in the real practical place, right? In the classroom or somewhere else, we have to practically do it. That is the implementation, right? When we implement whatever we have decided, whatever we have planned, when we implement, it will be challenging, and we have to consider lots of things, right? One thing is in e-learning, access and equity. Access means, can we access to this e-learning platform? So due to some reasons we can't access right now. When you think about this COVID period, some students have had access, some students didn't have access. That means අපිට ළඟා වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද මේකට කියන එක. හැමෝටම access නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Very simple example. Sometimes, although you are in LMS of your campus or some other institution, due to some technical problems, you don't have access. අර හැමතිස්සෙම ළමයි කියන්නේ LMS එකට access නැහැ. ඒ හින්දා submit කරන්න බැරි වුණා. Likewise, because access is the most important thing. Sometimes we don't have access. Maybe the reason is technical issue. Maybe the reason is access has not given by the authority. Maybe the reason is we don't have devices for access, right? Maybe the reason for that, maybe like we don't have enough signal strength, right? ඒ වගේ different reasons නිසා අපිට ඒක access කරන්න ළඟා කරගන්න බැරිකම. It's a challenge in e-learning, right? We face that in COVID period. Although we wanted to continue education, we couldn't do it because lots of children couldn't access. They didn't have access. Even teachers, they didn't have access due to the reasons I said, right? Right. Access and equity ගැන කතා කරනකොට we use some key term. Digital divide. Very important keyword, right? Digital divide කියලා කියන්නේ digitally අපි බෙදනවා. Digitally අපි divide වෙනවා. We divide, people we divide in different reasons, no? Due to different reasons, no? Based on some things like culturally divide, religious wise divide, right? Regions, areas, urban, rural, likewise we divide. We divide in different reasons, due to different reasons, even due to this digital things, digital access, right? Digital equity also we divide. We call that digital divide. That all people don't have the same access. Uh, we don't have equal access actually. We don't have equal facilities. We don't have equal internet facilities or signal or devices for everyone. Therefore, we have divided digitally. We call that, we use the word digital divide, right? So, under access and equity, we can explain digital divide. And also technology access we don't have due to the lack of technology knowledge. Although we are having everything, every device, every signal strength and facilities we have, but we don't have people who have the knowledge of technology, right? Then also it's also a reason not to access. And connectivity, as I told you, right? These are the access and equity. Under that we can explain digital divide, right? We don't have, some people have devices, some people don't have, therefore there is a deviation, there is a unequality between different groups, technology access and then internet connectivity problems, right? Challenges, I'm talking about challenges that we have to face when we do e-learning. Then quality assurance. What is quality assurance? For everything, we need some quality, right? That's why we do QA, quality assurance. We do for everything. අපි quality එක check කරලා ප්‍රමිතියක් දෙන්නේ. Quality assurance එක means like we give some standards, right? Standard certificates for everything, every brand, everything, even for education, education systems, schools, institutions, for everything we give some quality assurance or some standards. Standards means based on some criteria we decide this is the level that we have to achieve. මෙන්න මේ කියන level එකට මේ criteria එක ආවොත් තමයි හොඳ quality එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ, right? If we don't achieve that quality, we don't call that it is quality wise less කියලා. Right? Then in this e-learning, how can we protect this quality assurance? On the other hand, how can we measure this? අන්න ඒක තමයි ප්‍රශ්නයානික challenge එක, quality assurance එක. Why? Because you know, when you search for something in your internet, you get lots of information. At the same time, you get lots of information, right? But we don't know whether they are correct or not even, right? Content standards, if there is some quality assurance, if there is some quality certificate or something indicated that that is corrected, accepted one, then it will be easy, right? But we don't have quality assurance. But basically we learn, we know some these publications are reputed, these published institutions are reputed, this author is reputed, like a general level, sometimes we can measure the quality and we can select which are the best and good contents, right? But we don't know, right? When we have lots of information, even we get confused, right? And content standards, learning outcomes, even we don't know about that, right? එක එක අයට ඕනේ විදිහට learning outcomes හදලා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. What are the learning outcomes? ඊළඟ පාඩමේ ගොඩක් කතා කරනවා. Learning outcomes are the objectives, right? The objectives that we are going to achieve through lessons, through education, through learning, right? අපිට තියෙනවනේ හැම එකටම lessons ලියනකොට we write learning outcomes, intended learning outcomes කියලා කියන්නේ. curriculum වලට ඉගෙන ගන්න අපි ඔය syllabus වල තියෙන්නේ student will be able to achieve කියලා මොකක් හරි එකක්. අන්නේ learning outcomes, what are the standard ඒවා, මොනවද quality ඒවා, මොකද්ද ඇත්තට මේකෙන් දැනගන්න ඕන, ළඟා කරගන්න. That is a challenge. That is a challenge. Even assessment validity. Assess කරගන්න, right? අපි හිතමුකෝ like e-learning වල there are gamification games තියෙනවානේ. ළමයින්ට games කරලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ knowledge එක හරි මොකක් හරි, right? ඒගොල්ලන්ට assess කරගන්න පුළුවන්. But we don't know the validity of that. Validity කියන්නේ ඒක කොච්චරක් දුරට acceptable නැත්නම් ඒක මේ වැලියුද, වටිනවද කියන එක අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ විදිහට ඒ ඇසෙස්මන්ට් එක හරියද කියලා අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. වගේ එහෙම දේවල්, එහෙම ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා e-learning කරනකොට. right? ඒ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක අපි දන්නේ නැහැ වගේ එකක්. right? දැන් මේවට like we have solutions, මේවට standards හදලා like filter කරලා education field එකට දානකොට filter කරලා, right? selected ඒවා අරන් දීලා මොනිටර් කරලා අපේ ස්ටුඩන්ට්ස්ලට ඒ වගේ දේවල් we can do, but basically තාම බලන්නකෝ anytime you can get to go to Google or uh, s- uh, any other place, so you can find whatever you want, but you don't know whether they are correct or not. ඒකයි ප්‍රශ්නේ, right? Standard එක ගැන, quality එක ගැන there are challenges, and also we have to consider that. That's why I have included here challenges and considerations. Challenges අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න බාධා සහ අපි සැලකිය යුතු කරුණු. Access, equity and quality එක ගැන අපි සැලකලා බලන්න ඕනේ. They are challenges. Professional development. Now, e-learning is related to education, right? So, educators, that means teachers, have to have good professional development on that, because this technology is always changing. Technology is always changing. Day by day, it is changing. So, teachers have to be updated. For that, we need teacher training. It's a bit hard. Always giving teacher training for lots of teachers, right? And also another problem, technical support. Technical support for teachers, they need technical support. If they don't have technical knowledge much, actually this e-learning is not technical knowledge. E-learning is we teach and learn using a electronic device, right? Basically, that is the meaning, no? But for that, to use electrical device, to use instructional materials related to this e-learning is basically related with techniques, technology. Therefore, we need technical knowledge too. If not, we have to have technical support from someone, right? That is also problem for professionals, educators. යාට ගෙදර e-learning එක කරනකොට online කරනකොට technical support එකට කවුරුත් නැහැ. You have heard sometimes some teachers ask their children to help, kids to help, or someone else to help. කරගන්න බැරි නම් even you also do like that, right? අපි උනත් like, because new generations, they have more technological knowledge. They have born in technical era, not like previous generations. Therefore, they are like born in it. They understand technical things, new things, right? So for teachers, as teachers, like previous generations, old generations, we have to change because coming generations are technically very advanced, right? For that, we have to have a very good technical professional development in either in technical field or in subject related to e-learning, subjects related to learning. And continuous learning is very important, because as I told you, always these technologies updating, new things will come. So we all have to know about that to continue e-learning using advanced technologies, using present and future technologies. That is a challenge because we always have to learn, always have to have teacher training, always have to have technical support. It's a challenge, but they are also considerations. We have to think about that and consider if we do e-learning. We have to do teacher training, we have to get technical support, we have to continuously learn about these things, right? Likewise. Then the next challenge is infrastructure. What are infrastructure? Things we need to facilitate this learning, right? Maybe technical requirement, maybe platform selection, maybe support system, lots of things we need, right? All these things, access for all these things, right? Having all these facilities is a challenge actually. It's a challenge. But we have to consider about these things. Always we have to fulfill these, achieve this infrastructure, right? So what are the challenges then? Access and equity, quality assurance, and professional development and infrastructure. In all these aspects, we have challenges. We have to consider these things when we continue e-learning, right? summary. And even self-work, you can write answers for these things, right? How has e-learning evolved in your context? Your context. Your context. You can take like your school, throughout your system, your education from your childhood to present, right? In different aspects, you can write it. As well as you can write according to Sri Lankan context, right? What challenges have you experienced? This is make a personal අරගෙන ලියුවොත් මේකට උත්තරේ ඔයා කොහොමද මේ ඉවෝල්ව් වුනේ ඔයා ලයිෆ් ඔයාගේ ලයිෆ් එක through ඔයාගේ context එකේ ඔයාගේම personal context එකේ ගිහලත් explain කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඔයා face කරපු challenges කියන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයාගේ ඉස්කෝලේ right ඉස්කෝලේ කොහොමද e-learning evolve වුනේ ටික ටික ඒකදී ආපු challenges මොනවද? right ඉස්සරහට e-learning තවදුරටත් හොඳින් කරගෙන යන්න නම් මොන වගේ ට්‍රෙන්ඩ්ස් වලටද අපි යන්න ඕනේ? Which trends do you find most promising? right? ඒ කියන්නේ මොන වගේ ට්‍රෙන්ඩ්ස් වලටද? අලුත් ඒවා හිතන්න AI වලට යන්න ඕනේ. AI අපිට අතාරින්න බෑ. හැමෝම AI වලට යනකොට like අපිට ඒක ඒ ට්‍රෙන්ඩ් එකෙන් අතහැරිලා ඉන්න බෑ. right? Like being within some ethical considerations, ethical framework අපිටත් AI use කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට AI වලින් ගන්න දේවල් තියෙනවා. right? අන්න ඒ වගේ new trends මොනවාද කියලා තමයි මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අහන්නේ. You can read these things if you need, right? There are lots of articles and books about e-learning. Online you can find, right? You can do e-learning for that actually, right? Online about this first lesson. Anything to discuss? Dinusha, I hope you are also okay with this teaching in English. I don't know the other students who listen to recording. I need
Yes,
the
ma'am, I'm
feedback.
listening.
Okay, thank you. I don't know
Okay, ma'am.
about other students.
Uh,
Other students, but basically I'm doing in English. If someone requests, then I can explain in Sinhala too, right?
uh, No, it's not issue for me. I can understand, ma'am.
Okay, then we,
Okay.
okay. Right, now we are going to second lesson. This is, right now, I think I shared in the your chat box, right?
Okay.
Unit 2, right? Yeah, in Unit 2. Instructional design for e-learning. Instructional design. Then make it here. What you are going to talk about instructional design. First of all, you have to understand what is an we use this term instructions. Instructions are that how we are going to teach. How we are going to teach. Every step we use in teaching process, we call instructions, right? We give instructions always. Whatever we do, it is an instruction, starting from the lesson, everything, right? Instructions. For this process, for this teaching process, we need some design, some framework, some plan. So we call that instructional design, right? Here it is explained as a systematic process of creating educational experience. A systematic process we can understand. It should be a systematic process to teach. To teach, to teach means you are giving educational experiences to your students. We sometimes use learning experience. You have heard this word in teaching process. We always use learning experiences. Right? Learning experiences are the things that we give to our students. Whatever we do through our instructions, through our teaching process, they do to give them some kind of experience, some kind of learning experience. Through that learning experience, they learn something, right? Everything is an experience, right? When you are listening to me, you are having an experience, right? Your learning experience now is listening to me, listening to my lecture. Sometimes you discuss with me, we both of us, students and the teacher, discuss some things. If the children, students engage in these discussions, then their learning experience at that time, at that moment is discussion, right? So this learning experience is related with the teaching methodology, right? You as the teacher, as a teacher, you have to decide what kind of learning experience you are going to give to your children, your students, right? Based on that learning experience type, you have to design your teaching methodology. Sometimes you might first design your teaching methodology, and then according to your teaching methodology, they gain their learning experience. Through this learning experience, what do we do? Through this learning experience, we teach them something. They learn something, right? They learn something. When you listen to me, that is your learning experience. You learn something. When we discuss something, you get some experience, then you learn something. It's like that, right? So instructional design is we have to design some systematic process to give them educational experiences, to give the students learning experiences, right? So this designing focuses on not only experience but also on learning materials. That's why I told you learning materials also important, teaching methodology also. I told you teaching methodology is important as well as learning materials are important. Now if I give you, like, forget about the learning, in learning process, if I give you text materials to read, that means your learning experience is reading text material and understanding. If I give you some e-learning material, online, that, right? You read that online, previous one, right? So in instructional design, you have to decide everything, including these learning materials and teaching methodology. Because here, through instructional design, what you are going to do, you bridge theory with practical implementation. Theory with practical implementation. That means you get lesson plan, you write lesson plan, you have your teacher's guidebook, teacher instructional manual, or some other reference books. Even you have textbooks as content, right? Theoretically, you have everything, but you have to implement it in the classroom. In theoretically, you have that in your teacher guidebook. It is explained as you have to use these materials, these resources, these learning experiences you should give. These are the objectives that students have to achieve, right? However, when you do it in the classroom, practically it can be different. It can be hard. It might be not aligned with your theoretical explanations, right? So here, always your good instructional design should be bridged this theory and practical implementation. It should be applied in real situation, right? Now, when it comes to, generally I told you what is an instructional design, right? Instructional design means that you are going to make a systematic plan for your teaching process. It is based on your teaching methodology, learning experience that you expect to give to your children, resources you have, everything it is included in that that instructional design. When it comes to e-learning, this e-learning instructional design is also very important. Usual instructional design means actually our curriculum that we write for our students, right? Basically, we can say curriculum is the instructional design. Inside that curriculum, we have syllabus outline, we have teacher guidebooks, we have textbooks, right? Actually, textbooks are the content, but in teacher guidebook and design, right? Now, when it comes sorry, I was disconnected for a while, right? Connected. I hope you can hear, right? So I was talking about now instructional design is the basic thing that we have to follow while we are teaching, right? Instructional design, usually, not only for e-learning, for every teaching process, we need some instructional design. It can be a teacher guidebook, it can be a, syllabus outline, it can be a some kind of mm, explanation or some kind of guide, right? Teacher instructional manual. I should share, right? I will share. Okay, in general teaching process. But when it comes to e-learning, it is very important to follow a instructional design. Why? Why is that? That's what we were talking, right? Hmm. Now, e-learning is little bit different, little bit hard, right? In e-learning, we have to use different tools, right? And we have to give learning experiences to children in different way, right? It is related with technology, right? There are lots of key components in e-learning, right? It is very different, like it is now you all have to look at the screen here, right? There are words on the screen, right? It is not the usual way. It's not like you can you can't see sometimes. Actually now, like we don't see each other, right? It's not like face to face. In the beginning we started with video, switching on video, but later on, due to signal problems and due to some other convenience, we forgot about that video, right? Video camera, right? We don't switch on even that. So lots of challenges are there, right? Therefore we have to design some workable, some kind of instructional design that can be worked, that can be work and that can be overcome these problems in e-learning. That's why this instructional design is more important in e-learning, right? So we have to focus on this instructional design. Like if we don't have very good plan, if we don't have systematic way of doing this e-learning, we will not be successful, right? Just think, at least we have to plan how we are going to do this through Teams or through Zoom, how we are going to exchange our materials, assignments, LMS, how we are going to use LMS access for these things, all these things, then how we are going to assess you, right? This is e-learning, right? We are doing online learning for your program. Then how we are going to give you exam, physical exam, or is that also online exam? Then how can we measure correctly? How can we do the exam without any errors, without any biases? Do we have enough technology for that? Hmm? What are the continuous assessment methods? Can we do online presentations? Can we get your take home exams? Can we do like take home exams, letting you to write the exams within some time limit at home and send it to evaluator? Likewise, we have to have some kind of plan. Without plan, if we start some kind of e-learning process, right? We can't do it successfully. We have to know about resources. We have to know about facilities we have to know about assessment methods, the way of giving experience, learning experience, then also the content, right? It is also should be included in your instructional design. Instructional design means everything in your teaching process. So it is important in e-learning because e-learning is challenging already. To overcome those challenges, we have to make it more creative and to overcome all these challenges. Right? Right. So if we want to create such kind of instructional design, right? We should know these key components. We have to go through these key components. First thing, we have to analyze learner needs. Learner needs. Basically, now just think, if we teach primary students, what are their needs? Through these e-learning sessions, online teaching, what are the things that we have to uh, make them achieved their need. Now, for you in your course, you need some advanced knowledge for your teaching process for your position, more qualification to become a teacher, or if you are a teacher, then develop professionally as a teacher. These are the needs. That's why you are following the course. Then we have to first of all analyze the learner needs to make our instructional design. Then we have to design structured learning experiences. I told you learning experiences are the way we are giving students the knowledge, skill, or attitude through some kind of experience. We call that learning experience. So we have to design. We can't just we can't just start any teaching process without thinking of learning experience, right? We can't just suddenly decide what we are going to do. Now, for your program, we have decided that we are going to do online lectures, right? So, that is the learning experience that we are going to give you. Structured learning experiences. Experiences should be structured. Structured means, right, maybe breakdown, right, maybe having step by step systematic way, likewise some methodical way of giving learning experiences, right? Developing appropriate instructional materials. Then after we decide the learning experience, then we have to design or develop our instructional materials. Here, instructional materials means subject material, some kind of notes you need, basically, simply. All right. At least we give you PPTs. right? Then we give you references to find out and learn, because you are in tertiary education, university level. In university level, we always promote self learning, and you are in the phase of andragogy, adult education. Then you have to discover and learn by yourself, right? Not only for adults, even now for school learners, young learners, we always try to promote this learning by doing, right? Discovery learning, learning through experiences, right? However, for these things, we have to develop appropriate instructional materials. Now, see, normal, not e-learning, in normal learning of face-to-face learning, we use instructional materials like textbooks. For government schools, we have textbooks, right? So those are the instructional materials developed by curriculum developers, appropriate to their age level, their psychology needs, right? Even in key learning, we have to develop appropriate instructional materials, right? If we have the material, then we can recommend that, right? We can ask the students to refer, right? We can share the material, we can show it on the screen, right? So these appropriate instructional materials are also another key component. Then we have to implement learning strategies. That is also very important. Learning strategies, that is actually teaching methodologies, pedagogy, how they are going to learn, what are the strategies that we use to teach, right? So it should be designed, it should be decided earlier, right? Now we use Zoom, we share the screen, we explain, right? You listen to me, right? You look at the screen. So whatever learning strategy we have to use, right? I can show you a video. I can ask you to explain something. I can ask you to share your screen and explain something, right? Some kind of learning strategies, and there are various learning strategies that we can use in learning various subjects. Strategies, then we have to evaluate learning outcomes. Here, evaluate learning outcomes means evaluating students' performance, because they have to achieve learning outcomes, right? We can evaluate whether they have achieved or not. That means their performance we are going to evaluate. However, in an instructional design, we need to know learners' need, right? We have to include learning experiences, we have to include instructional materials, we have to include learning strategies and learning outcomes too, right? Right. Now, I told you we need some systematic way of designing e-learning instructional design, especially for e-learning, not be because not like in normal learning, in e-learning we have lots of challenges to overcome. Right. Therefore, people have educationists have different people interested in e-learning, like e-learning developers, they have developed some systematic approaches, some models, right? Uh, One model we call ADDIE model, ADDIE model, ADDIE, ADDIE model. It's a systematic approach for e-learning, right? So ADDIE stands for analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. Analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. Just look at the previous slide. We have to analyze learner needs, right? Then we have to design structured learning experiences, develop appropriate instructional materials, implement learning strategies, evaluate learning outcomes. See, it is aligned with these two, right? ADDIE model also, including those basic steps of instructional design, right? First we have to analyze, then we have to design. Let's see one by one. Analyze stage. Each stage we will discuss. Give me 2 minutes. Right. Now I'm going to explain ADDIE model that we can use as a systematic approach for instructional design. Still, we are talking about instructional design for e-learning, right? Instructional design is important because we are facing lots of challenges in e-learning. Therefore, we need a systematic approach for e-learning instructional design. So in this ADDIE model, we have several stages. First stage is analyze stage. Analyze means we analyze something, uh, we break down basic things to some steps or uh, some basic components to understand it better, right? So we analyze learner characteristics. Here, learners are the focus group that we are going to teach this a subject or some course, right? We are going to know about the the focus group learners characteristics, because we want to design our instructional design, including content, learning experiences, assessment methods. For that, we should know their psychological level, their needs, their previous knowledge, right? Their future expectations. Based on these things, we have to design our instructional design, right? So, analyze stage, we identify learner characteristics, assess their needs, define learning goals, their goals. Now you have goals for completing this program, right? Examine existing resources and constraints. That is very important. In analyze stage, you have to know what are the resources you have, what are the constraints, limitations you have. Especially when it comes to e-learning, we are talking about e-learning stages, right? E-learning instructional designing stages are D, right? In analyze stage, we have to know about resources and constraints because we don't have lots of resources. Yet we don't have, right? So we have lots of limitation, constraints. So we have to find out all these things without analyzing existing resources and constraints. If we include very advanced e-learning strategies to use, very advanced learning experiences to gain, will it be successful? If the learning experience is not aligned with their psychological level, they can't understand. If we suggested in our design to use some advanced technologies that we don't have in our context, in our country, then it is also a problem. All right? If we include some kind of advanced technological facilities, resources, devices that we cannot access, then also it will not be successful. Therefore, we have to analyze these things, right? If we include something that not related with their needs and goals, then also it is not applicable, right? So we have to analyze first before we design the instructional design. Just keep it in your mind as the curriculum for e-learning. Instructional design means actually curriculum. Curriculum means everything that you have to do in teaching learning process. It is not only subject outline, it's not only syllabus outline, everything. How you are going to assess children, how you are going to give activities, content, right? Learning experiences, resources that you can do, all these things are inside this instructional design. So you have to analyze before you do it, before you design it, right? Analyze. Then the second stage is design stage. AD, second D, design. After you analyze, after you know about the focus group, after you know about the resources you have, then you can easily design, right? How you are going to design? First thing, First thing you have to create learning objectives. You know these things, do you know? It means when we make a curriculum, I'm just use the word curriculum because then it will easy for you to understand other than using the word instructional design, right? In your e-learning curriculum, right? First thing that you have to do is creating learning objectives. You know, learning objectives in every curriculum. First thing we are making learning objectives. Learning objectives are the outcomes that we expect to achieve by the learners. Learning outcomes, objectives. Learning objectives, we use all these words. Learning objectives, sometimes when it is more broad objectives, we call aims, right? Then develop assessment strategies. Learning objectives, then assessment strategies, how you are going to assess whether the students have achieved the learning objectives. When you design a learning objective, you have to include learning objectives which you can measure later from your students. We call that measurable learning objectives, right? You have to include measurable learning objectives. Then assessment strategies, if they are measurable, that means you can assess, you can measure, right? You can uh, decide whether they have understood or not, right? Then design instructional approach. Approach means here way of teaching, your pedagogy, your methodology, whether it is child-centered, whether it is teacher-centered or problem-centered or experience-centered, right? Whatever the approach that you are going to do. Plan learning activities to give, through that approach, to give learning experiences. Then you have to plan activities for them. Then the technology, that is the important part of e-learning. Then you have to select your appropriate technology, right? In design stage, you have to do all these things. Objectives, strategies, approach, activities, and technologies you have to design. Then develop stage. After you design all these things, you start to create instructional materials, right? Materials you have to create. Maybe some kind of notes, textbooks, textbooks should be online, right? Some kind of content. You have to content development, right? Then the elements that you want to use, multimedia elements that you want to learn, use in your process. And you have to use some interactive learning resources. That's why we consider in e-learning mostly promote the interaction, because it's a challenge for us. Less interaction among teachers and students, among students and students. So we have to use some interactive learning resources. We have to build some interactive learning resources. And also then you have to prepare assessment tools, how you are going to assess children, how to evaluate, test or continuous assessment or asking question verbally or giving presentations or giving projects. Likewise, you have to develop what are the assessment tools. Assessment tools means evaluation methods. Then implement stage, very important part. One second. Implement stage is the stage that we are going to do it practically, right? So you deliver the learning experience to your students, deliver the learning experience, whatever learning experience you developed there in your instructional design, in your curriculum, right? After you deliver that, you provide learner support. You have to provide learner support. Like I do, I ask you to refer some books, but I have to give you some support, like giving you some links for references, some names for references, and recommending you some good publications like ResearchGate. Huh? Likewise, I provide you support. Facilitate learning activities, whatever the learning activities we included in our design, our curriculum, all right? To do those activities, we should facilitate. Like in design, in my curriculum, if I included to do online quiz, right? I have to facilitate you, giving you opportunity to log in some online quiz app, right? Giving you some access, I have to facilitate for learning activities. Manage learning environment. Yeah. As the teacher, you have to manage learning environment in implement stage. When you are implementing, teacher is the implementer. Teacher is the implementer of any kind of instructional design. If I make it easy, in following the curriculum, teacher has to manage the learning environment, right? How we are going to manage the learning environment, managing the discipline or behavior of students, right? They gain their attention, like just think in online platform, right? While I'm teaching, if there are unmuted children, unmuted microphones in some children, right? Sometimes it will be disturbance for me, right? So I have to manage learning environment. I have to include interactive activities and make it more interactive, attractive, and I should grab the attention of students. However, you have to manage learning environment. That is in implement stage. In implement stage, you deliver the learning experience and you provide them support, facilitating learning activities, the resources that they need. You can give, right? Yeah, and you have to manage learning environment by some rules and regulations, right? Implement stage, then evaluate stage, last one. Evaluate stage means, right? Now, after we make any kind of curriculum, I use the both word instructional design, right? We have learning outcome there in our first second stage, in designing stage and developing stage. Learning outcomes were designed and developed, right? So we have to evaluate those, whether those learning outcomes are achieved by learners. That's how you assess learning outcomes. Then after assessments, even you can assess total e-learning instructional design. Whatever you used as the curriculum, you can assess, right? You can collect feedback from different stakeholders who use this instructional design. Like you can collect feedback from other teachers, authorities, parents, from children too. You can collect feedback about the whether it is interactive, whether it is understandable, whether there are enough materials. All these things you can collect through feedback, not through collected feedback. Then you can measure effectiveness, whether the mm, model, whether the way of teaching worked or not. Identify areas for improvement. Then you might understand areas for improvement. Like if you include some kind of text material to do by them, like some paper material. If we ask them to print that, we show some paper, we share some soft copy of worksheet, and we ask them to uh, take a printout and do it at the same time, right? Now we get the feedback saying that students tell that they are unable to take a printout at the same time. If you want to ask them to get a printout, then we have to inform them in advance, right? Likewise, through feedback we get that it is difficult, then we can change it in curriculum as like asking them to changing it as completing it online, filling the soft copy, or else asking them to take printouts earlier and write down answers and send a scan. But likewise, whatever workable, right? Whatever we can do practically, we have to include. So through feedback, we can get those drawbacks and we can make improvements. Continuous refinement of the learning experiences. Always we have to refine them, we have to update them, learning experiences that we are going to give. If we feel like on when teaching online, lecture method doesn't work because students don't talk, right? Students don't talk, right? So learning experience is like very dull, and we don't know whether they have achieved the learning outcome, whether they have experienced that in correct way. All right. Therefore, then we have to make it change. Like we go for discussions, we go for some project-based method. We can give some problems or encourage to students and ask them to write down the answer for that. Like we always make some refinement, right? We make some updates, we make some changes, right? In evaluate stage according to the feedback we get, right? That is evaluate stage. So in a D model, what are the stages? What are the stages that we use to design our instructional design? I use sometimes curriculum for your convenience to understand. A D model, we have analyze stage, design stage, develop stage, implement stage, and evaluate stage, right? Then we are going to talk about instructional design strategies for e-learning. Now we are designing instructional design, right? We should know some strategies to uh, design instruction, especially for e-learning, right? One second. Right. Let's see instructional design strategies for e-learning. That means in online learning, we have to use some specific strategies, right? Because in digital learning environment, we have, as I told you earlier, I'm again reminding you, we have lots of challenges to face in digital learning environment. Therefore, we have to very carefully design strategies, right? What are the challenges again? What are the challenges again that we face in digital learning, e-learning? First thing, lack of a physical instructor. Physically, now just think about maths lesson or just think about English language lesson. All right, if we are physically close to our children, easily we can go nearby them, make their handwriting corrected. Right, we can look at their exercises. We can even look at their faces and observe their understanding level, right? We can make eye contact. We can go to their places, move here and there, and understand their behaviors. Likewise, very easily. When they solve a maths problem, easily we can easily. It is like feel. I don't know whether it is applicable for you. Like for me, when the students are nearby me, I'm comfortable and I'm confident, right? I feel like they are listening to me, right? They are very common challenges that in e-learning teachers face, right? Online learning, educators, online teachers face these problems. They feel very confident when they are face to children, right? Even students also can understand teacher, right? Through body language, through facial expressions, through movements also we can give something to students. From their behaviors, their expressions, we can understand their understanding level, their level of potential. Likewise, we also can easily understand them. So here in e-learning, it's not like that. We don't have a physical instructor, right? Uh, it is very hard to increase their involvement, right? It is very hard to get responses from them, right? Now for us also it's like that, no, right? If I meet you face to face, it's not like that. We make some teacher student relationships. It will be very easy convenient thing for us. So this is a problem, lack of a physical instructor, right? So to overcome this problem, when we design our curriculum for e-learning, we have to be very careful. We have to use some strategies, right? We have to include some strategies, like I can ask you to do a small presentation once a while, right? Then what happened? Then I can ask you to switch on your video. I can ask questions in Q&A session. Likewise, we can make relationships, right? Likewise, when you choosing right strategy, right? Tricky strategies to overcome those challenges, we can be successful. Another challenge that we are talking about, we are talking about instructional design strategies for e-learning, right? These strategies should be based on the challenge we face. That's why I have explained one by one with the challenge. First challenge, lack of a physical instructor. Then to overcome that challenge, we have to use some strategies. So lack of physical instructor, then we have to give experience, learning experience, right? Appropriate to online learning environment, right? So we can't face them, we can't meet them face to face, we can't get their involvement easily. Therefore, we have to design some strategy to facilitate the same experience in different way. Like as I told you, giving presentations, right? Asking some oral questions always, asking to switch on videos. Likewise, we have to use some kind of strategy to overcome this problem, lack of physical instructor. Then some strategies to make the online learning applicable. Applicable means, one second. Make the online learning applicable, right? Instructional design strategies help make the online learning applicable. Strategies should be helped, right? That means whatever strategies we use should help us to make it applicable. Some things we can't apply, right? Some things we can apply only face to face. But in online, we can't apply everything which we apply in face to face. If I give you some examples, very simple things. Sometimes we do in face to face. We can't do like very simple things like eye contacting, right? Like uh, selecting students to ask questions, randomly asking questions, right? Here also we can just call the name and ask questions, right? But based on something we can do it in the classroom when we see them physically. If we feel that one student doesn't pay attention, then we can ask question from that particular student. We can like give some task to that particular student. Likewise, we can apply those strategies easily for face-to-face classroom. But online, it is hard for us. We don't know who is listening, who is not listening. Likewise, we don't know. Then many organizations use online learning as a way to train employees on skills that must be applied on the job. See, um sometimes there are some kind of skills we can't do online, but there are some skills that we can do online, right? Maybe some social skills, some soft skills, right? uh, when it is come to some job training, right, training programs, we can use these some strategies in training, right? And now see, when it comes to train some person through some curriculum, right? Maybe giving job skills, job skills for group of adults, right? It is very hard. It is very hard, right? So to overcome that, we have to have very creative, intensive instructional design strategies, right? How can we do this? How can we do this? We even for skills, if we can't go for industries, practical places, real life situations, then we can show videos online. There are benefits like that. That's how we design the instructional design curriculum suit for them, suit for online learning, right? In face to face learning, whatever we do, all these things we can't do in online teaching. Therefore, we can get the benefit of online, like using videos, like creating real situations through AR, augmented reality, or virtual reality, right? We can make virtual environments. Likewise, we have to include something applicable, right? Applicable in physical learning. Now we can take our students to outside to show environmental things, to and then we can ask them to collect leaves of trees, and then we can talk about parts of a tree, right? But in online teaching, we can't take them to outside, right? That is a constraint, right? We can't take them outside. Then what can we do? We can then in our instructional design, we have to change the learning experience as it is applicable, then what can we do? We can use virtual reality to create an environment that we can show them trees, plants, leaves, parts of the trees, everything. Right? Sometimes it is more workable, it is more effective because they might pay their attention when they see these new virtual situations, virtual environment, right? Then classroom may be more interactive. Likewise, we can make the online learning applicable. Then better use of online instructional environment and resources. Better use of online instructional environment and resources. Now see, learning strategies help learners better use the online instructional environment and resources more effectively, which we use as strategies, right? Now see, um, now in online learning, digital learning, instructors, that means teachers, teachers are facilitators. We call them facilitators because teachers only facilitate them, help them, guide them. The responsibility for the learning is on learners themselves, right? Learners have to get the learning experience. Learners have to learn what the teacher trying to learn. What is the teacher trying to learn? It's not the responsibility of teacher. Teacher is only the facilitator, right? So in or online in e-learning, the student is the responsible person, right? Student is the responsible person. That means effective strategy must be in place to ensure that learner knows how to make the best. See, now I ask you to, you are the learners, I ask you to find out notes, find out reference books and read lots of reference related to online learning, right? So you have the responsibility, you have the authority. I'm just facilitating, right? I'm just guiding. So, when you find references, sometimes you don't have access, sometimes you don't get reputed references. Likewise, you face some problems. You face some problems. So, we have to have very strong strategy to overcome that. Like, if I give you links for references, right? If we include uh, online resources in our websites, right? In now government's students, government school students, they can access to e-Takshana and get their e-materials. All the textbooks are there, right? Still they are not much interactive or creative textbooks, just the textbook is there, just only thing we can read online. That they are also online e-materials, right? So we include some references, particular recommended references in website or some other place and ask them to read them, right? So the problem of understanding, selecting proper content, we overcome by using the strategy of including some e-materials and recommending them. That's how we make the better environment and resources for online learning, right? If we don't have some online instruction, online textbooks or online materials, right? If we just ask them to read, it doesn't work, right? So we make the resources, we include the resources, facilities for them, and we ask to read them, right? Also, we can give them access, we can share them with them, we can upload to the LMS and give them access to an LMS. Likewise, we can uh, use some kind of strategy. See, to choose the best instructional design strategy, for that designer must first set up the clear learning goals. As we discussed earlier, learning goal, learning outcome is important, right? Determine the actions that need to be taken to meet these goals, right? Looking at the available resources, techniques, and devices. If we can, like in an academy, if we have budget, we can provide devices, at least for educators. Now, in academies campus, they provide a laptop for the educator, teacher. Likewise, we can overcome these challenges, including some kind of strategy, right? Or else we can give technology training for educators, right? All right, we talked about three things, right? Three things under instructional design strategies. Actually, not three strategies, but based on three aspects, we have to decide the strategy. Because online learning is a place that there is no physical instructor. Therefore, to overcome that, we have to use some strategy. um, Sometimes some strategies doesn't applied in e-learning. We have to carefully consider that and make the online learning applicable. And how to use online instructional environment and resources in a better way, that is also another, not one strategy, strategies, right? Right, give me 1 second. Right. Now we are going to talk some strategies, right? We can use in e-learning as instructional design strategies. Like now I told you, we have to use some kind of strategies that we have to overcome the challenges in e-learning, right? So these are some kind of strategies, instructional design strategies that we can use. Storytelling, guided learning, scenario-based learning, learning through exploration and discovery, simulations, gamification, right? Most of the things you know, right? Storytelling. Gamification, especially you know. We mostly use these gamifications. Right, let's see one by one, very simple things, but we will go through one by one very quickly. What is storytelling? This is also very common instructional design strategy for e-learning, right? So through is now basic challenge is that it is very hard for us to make relationships, make interactions with students and teachers, right? Among students and teachers, right? So storytelling is a very good strategy, right? Easily we can connect with learners' emotional aspect, right? Then we can build empathy, right? When we have like very dull subjects, right? Even in dull subjects, if we use storytelling, right, we can grab their attention easily, right? We can like use some comic stories, right? Make them laugh, make them even make them cry even, to develop their empathy, to give them some moral instructions, right? um, to show some models of different people, right? We can use stories, we can use comic strips to make it more fun, more effective, right? For every subject we can use storytelling, in especially in e-learning, right? Then guided learning. What do you mean by guided learning? We just, without letting them learn by themselves, we give a mentor, we name a mentor, right? A coach. We give a coach. Through that, right? Uh, we can guide them. We can guide them to some things that they can't understand by themselves, right? How to select the content, right? How to relate it to the question. For these things, they need some guidance, right? So through coach or through a mentor or a coach, we can give this guiding for their learning. Now, this is e-learning, online learning, this guide or the mentor, also virtual instructor, right? Not a physical instructor, online instructor. However, at least online instructor, if they have for their guidance, it will be easy for them, right? Now, after I teach you, I ask you to do some self-work, right? I ask you to find some details, informations, right? So at that time, if you have a mentor, if you have some guide, you can get the guidance. It will be easy. Guided learning we use in online learning. Scenario based learning. What is scenario based learning? We give some situations. We give some simulated situations. Uh, Related to the learning outcome, related to the learning situation, right? And we ask them to make a decision, we ask them to solve a problem, right? Uh, Likewise, we give them opportunity to work on something, right? Mm, Now, just think as example, if we want to change behavior of some kind of children, if we want to change the behavior, right, then we can use this strategy. right? We tell explain some situation simulated to similar to this situation, right? We need a problem answer for the problem. We just create a simulated situation and ask children to give the solution for this problematic situation, right? Then they will learn through that. They will change their behavior, right? So if we want to make soft skills like teamwork, respecting others, helping others, empathy, to teach them that kind of soft skills, right? We can give them some example scenario, right? Then we can explain how to how does the person in that scenario work and what are their suggestions, your suggestions, and we can just brainstorm them, right? Scenario based learning, then learning through exploration and discovery. Not only in online learning, e-learning, even in physical learning, face-to-face learning, if we do discovery learning through exploration, if we give them opportunity to learn something, it will work more, right? We know John Dewey said that learning by doing, right? Albert Bandura's uh, social construction theory. Likewise, there are lots of theories we did in first lesson, right? That through discovery, through exploration, through experience, children easily learn according to those theories too. So here also, therefore, we use those theories in e-learning, online learning, right? How to do that? We can just ask them to discover something like without teaching you, without giving you notes, we can ask you to find different kind of instructional design models. Then you have to search and find. So you explore, you discover your knowledge. It's like that. So they students seek information, explore. Sometimes to get information, they have to do experiments, they have to do projects, right? So it is like letting students to explore solutions for some problem, subject matter by themselves, right? Let's see another strategy. Simulation also little bit similar to that scenario based learning. Here also we make some similar environment for some situations, right? Virtually we can make the similar situations, like especially in science subjects. For science subjects we can scientific situations, laboratories, right? For geography or history, we can take them, we can create virtual environment, including the features that we want to explain, teach, right? So sometimes there are places, there are situations that we can't reach out, right? Sometimes due to the risk, right? Due to the uh, regional geographical constraints, time constraints, economical constraints, we can't reach out some places. But virtually we can experience that, right? We can give hands-on activity, we can give the experience in a risk-free environment when we use simulation. Similar situation we create here using AR or VR, we can do it, right? Strategies we are talking about, strategies that we can use in e-learning, right? Then gamification, very common. gamification, especially for primary element student. We use gamifications because they like play based activities, right? So through gamification, um, we can motivate children, we can engage them in different activities, right? There are some games they can just follow step by step. There are explained pathways, there are explained guidelines, right? And also for games, there are softwares, there are websites, there are tools to use, even free of charge tools. You can use different kind of games to realize knowledge, to develop knowledge, right? One second. I just want to fix the charger. Give me 1 second. Yes, we are talking about games. Yes, we are talking about the games. Is it sharing? The PPT, is it sharing or not? Sharing, right? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am, we can see.
Thank you. Right, gamification, a very common
Yes.
and very popular way of very popular strategy that we use in e-learning, right? Um, in not only elementary students, actually for adults also, we like to learn something through games, right? Without any effort, without having a burden, without having a stress, we can learn something through games, right? Even through there are developed games for online learning, right? Students can evaluate themselves through the game, right? Step by step, everything is included in the games, right? So you also have to find some games, good games that you can apply in your online teaching for your students for different age levels. You just find, right? You have to discover, you have to find that different kind of e-learning methods under gamification, right? Under different kind of e-learning strategies. One kind is gamification. So there are lots of various games that available online. So
Mhm.
find some games, right? Names of games. So they are game-based elements, right? Here, through these games, we can let students to get points, badges, rewards. So that's how that students get motivated through this gamification, right? And also it makes children, it creates some sense of challenge, progression, accomplishment, and motivation, enjoyable, and make them engaging, right? Feel them confident when they do games, right? Interactive, and also we can retain students uh, throughout some time duration until they understand the subject matter, course material. When we have some games, we can retain them, we can improve retention. Right now, what did we explain here? We explained different kind of strategies: gamification, simulation, learning through exploration and discovery, scenario-based learning, guided learning, and storytelling as some instructional design strategies. Right? We need specific strategies because e-learning is challenging.
हाँ, ऐसे ऑफ करें ना.
Joanne muted, darling. Yeah, now we were talking about all these things we discussed. Then let me go to the next subtopic after gamification. Learning objectives and outcomes, right? We are now already, learning objectives are very important. Learning objectives are the first thing that we design in our curriculum. That means in your instructional design. Therefore, especially for e-learning, learning objectives, e-learning aspect, e-learning instructional design, we have to follow some characteristics of learning objectives for make it more effective. They should be specific and measurable. These things I explained earlier too, right? Whatever the learning objective you design in a curriculum should be specific and measurable. Otherwise, we can't find whether the students achieved or not that learning objective, right? Align with course goals. Yeah, we have some particular goals in a program or course. Then when you include learning objectives or outcomes for e-learning, it should be aligned with the course goal, right? We can't do some deviations saying it is e-learning, therefore we have to go for these things. No, it's not like that. All the goals should be aligned with course goals. They should be clear and concise, observed and accessible, right? Observable. Any learning objective we include should be observable, right? Then only we can measure, then only we can assess. Focus on learner performance. If it is focus on learner performances, easily we can measure because performance we can see. Performance of children, performance of students, we can see. It is some kind of presenting their ability, presenting their understanding, presenting their knowledge or skill, presenting their attitude. So this through this presenting, through their performance, we can easily understand whether they have achieved or not. So yeah, specifically now it comes to e-learning. When we design e-learning models, e-learning materials, e-learning instructional design, that means curriculum. The people who do this curriculum developers or professionals should know these things, right? Learning objectives are basically the essence of your online courses goal, right? We should not forget that we are going to make objectives for online learning, and as they describe what you want your learners to achieve after completing it. Yeah, any learning objectives should be achieved by learners after completing it, right? If they are unclear, if they are generic, if they are not specific for e-learning, it will be hard for you to uh, measure your students, right? If you have clear objectives, right, it will be great tool for building the structure of your learning content, right? You have to develop learning content based on the learning objectives. Therefore, first thing that we have to do in uh, creating this instructional design, first thing you have to clear and concise and very nice learning objectives you should develop. After that, every like half of the work has done after you develop correct learning objectives, because all the other things depend on that. Content we make according to learning objectives, learning experiences we design according to learning objectives, evaluation methods we design, Okay, according to the learning objectives, right? So when you make e-learning materials also, you have to know what is the learner expectations and learning outcomes, right? Right. Now I'm going to explain you Bloom's taxonomy related to learning objectives. You might have done this earlier too. Bloom's taxonomy, right? I want to explain this like leisurely, how to apply Bloom's taxonomy and all. So although we are like a little bit behind, like according to the timeline, we have to finish at least one lesson on one day because we have only 6 days and there are 6 units, but it's too much to explain and start now Bloom's taxonomy. However, we will finish it next day and we will go to the next lesson. However, we will finish third lesson on third day, definitely, right? You just keep in your mind where have we finished because I might forget, right? We have stopped. That means we have to start from content. No, yeah, content development strategy. No, sorry, Bloom's taxonomy, right? We have to start from Bloom's taxonomy. Then we will go through and see Bloom's taxonomy, then content development strategies, multimedia learning principles, content types in learning, and then we have to talk about UDL and UDL principles, accessibility, legal and ethical considerations. That's all, right? Quickly we can finish next day. Like within 15 minutes, we will finish this part and we will start the third lesson next day, right? Any questions, any doubt, any suggestions or comments? Yes, Dinasha?
No, ma'am, it's clear. All parts are clear with us.
Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, good night, ma'am.
Thank you.